here, the Pacers came back or the Knicks blew it?
Well, first, let me say this, and I mean this from the heart. For the last 3 weeks or so, it has felt like the Knicks are in a season of destiny. With the way they, the tough series with Detroit, not so much that, but Boston.
Yeah.
And the comebacks, the 2 improbable comebacks in 1 and 2, and then to win that series in 5. And in reality, the team of destiny might be the Pacers because they were doing similar things, but not as many people were paying attention. And last night it was their 3rd game that they had won during these playoffs where they trailed by 7 or more points in the last minute.
Yeah, and by the way, and we can just throw the graphic up if you have it, Dustin, you keep going, Brew. In recorded playoff history, prior to the Pacers a month ago, that had happened once ever. The Chris Paul game against Oklahoma City.
Yep.
The one team had come back from 7+ down in the final minute. The Pacers have done it in every series they've played this postseason, against Milwaukee, against Cleveland, and now against the Knicks. Go ahead.
No, but that says it all. And so to answer your question, and this is just the flat-out truth, you don't come back from a 20-point deficit, or I should say a 14-point deficit with like 2.5 minutes left, a 9-point deficit with about 50 seconds left, and an 8-point deficit with about 35 seconds left, unless you get help from the other team. And I picked Indiana to win this series. I was glad to see what happened last night. So I'm not taking anything away from them because obviously they were phenomenal. That's the greatest comeback I've ever seen, and that includes Reggie Miller's, 8 points in 9 seconds against the Knicks 30 years ago. That was the greatest comeback in NBA history that I've seen. But the Knicks played a large role in it, and we'll get into all the great things. We know Nesmith's 6 threes in the fourth quarter. Obviously, the great shot by Halliburton. But the Knicks, the 5th best free throw shooting team in the league, missed 2 free throws in the last 14 seconds. Karl-Anthony Towns, a 90% free throw shooter in the playoffs, misses a free throw. OG Anunoby, an 84% free throw shooter in the playoffs, misses a foul shot. Jalen Brunson, the best clutch player in the league, rightfully voted clutch player of the year, had 3 turnovers in overtime and the last 30 seconds of regulation. The broadcast team was talking about this. That last inbounds where Obi Toppin got the dunk to seal the game, there was no resistance from the Knicks on the inbound pass.
At that point, they were dead.
They were only down a point with 12 seconds. Mentally dead. Psychologically.
I just meant
right. But the point is, it was both. It was a phenomenal comeback. You can't take anything away from that. Just to think you can still win at that point. But the Knicks made several errors late in the game. And I thought they took some quick shots, too, off offensive rebounds where they didn't have to.
It is, sometimes people say, never seen anything like that before. And maybe they haven't, but other people have. What we saw last night, no one has ever seen before in NBA history. The Pacers tweet is correct. Like, all of playoff history, we can throw that up, and then the 7.1 dust. Down 14, the final 3 minutes, 0 and 970. Now 1 and 970. The 7-point comebacks, and this was a 9-point comeback in the final minute. But again, look at this. And again, we say since 97 because that's as far back as the data goes. Every other team ever, 1 and 1,711. The Pacers, since the Super Bowl, are 3 and 2. And each one has felt impossible. The first one was the Milwaukee John Halliburton game. The second one was the Cavs game 2 when they didn't have any of their guys. Donovan went crazy, and then they just stole it from them. And then last night was, to me, the most improbable of them all. And I saw, while you tweeted, like, this is Knicks Celtics, but now the Knicks are the Celtics. Here's where I disagree with that. The game 1, when the Knicks came back against the Celtics, they were down 20 midway through the 3rd, and then tied the game with 8 minutes left. Like, that was a long, arduous comeback. Game 2, the Knicks were down 14 with 8.5 left, and then took the lead with 2 minutes left. for these guys, this was a nip and tuck game through the first 3.5 quarters.
Yep.
Brunson gets his 5th foul, and the Knicks then shockingly once he went to the bench, go on a 14-0 run, and the game's over. By all intents and purposes, the game should be over. And then, and this is where I agree with you, Brew, yes, Nesmith was unbelievable with the threes, and we've never seen anything like that with it.
Yeah, he's the first player to hit 6 threes in the 4th quarter in the playoffs ever. There's only been, I think there's 6 other guys, including friend of the show, Antoine Walker, who had hit 6 threes in a quarter, but no one's ever done it in the 4th quarter.
But despite all that, Brew, the Knicks are up 5 with the ball with 34 seconds left.
The game should be over.
And in that play, right, and that play, they screwed that one up. Because you are not trying to go get a layup there. You are trying, because you have all good free throw shooters out there, to kill clock and then get fouled. Brunson rushed, and all of a sudden, the ball's out of bounds 5 seconds into the possession. That's when they challenged. As you mentioned, the missed free throws. And I also have to talk about this fouling when up 3 thing. Because I think coaches, these playoffs, have consistently screwed this up.
Yep.
Up 3 with 13 seconds left, if you foul immediately, you're flatly saying, okay, we're going to do this 3 more times, and we're not going to make any awful mistakes. We're going to make all our free throws. I think it's a bad strategy, and that's the Knicks did that. That's when they missed the free throw, and despite all that, they could have won in overtime. They're up 4 in overtime. There's a missed goaltending call, and I'm sure Knicks fans are upset.
Well, to your point, by that point, they were done mentally.
No, they couldn't believe it. I don't think anybody could believe it. I was watching the game from St. Elmo's in Indianapolis. The Pacers fans couldn't believe it. Like, even though they've been seeing it. And so it is a remarkable collapse, and I just wonder, because it killed, in my opinion, the Cavs.
Okay. Listen, this isn't going to, destroy the Knicks, but I really want to talk about this from both sides of the coin because, I don't think it's fair to just put it on the Knicks collapse and not give any credit to the Pacers because the Pacers executed flawlessly what they needed to do. Now, like Bruce said, and I think he was 100% on the money there, it does take 2 to tango in that regard, right? Like, it does. Just like Tom Brady's historic comeback win in the Super Bowl, like, you need some gifts from the Atlanta Falcons as well. So you can't just be like, this was 100% all the Pacers and nothing to do with the Knicks. I know fan bases always want to fight over, like, the narrative of, like, we won, they didn't lose, or they lost, we didn't win, like, whatever, however it may be. And I think it was a combination, but that takes away nothing from the Pacers. And the Pacers were in this game throughout the whole entire time. Like, this was a back and forth type game. It felt like the Knicks, though, were more in control. They were just able to kind of just keep things ever so slightly more organized than the Pacers. And then the moment they lost that slight edge, that's all the Pacers needed. I mean, it was remarkable. I'm lucky. Normally, I watch these games live or on a slight delay, but this time around, I'm watching the game live, and I'm eating food. It's late night for me, and my dad's having a problem with like an email thing or whatever, and so I have to pause the game. I have to go help him, and I'm trying to help him through his phone and do all this type of stuff. It took a long time, and then so now I finally end with that, and it's all right, good night, bye, see you later, and I go back to the game, and I see now a lot of time has passed. And I saw, though, that the game went to overtime. And that's all I knew, that it went to overtime. And I knew Halliburton said sent them to overtime is what I saw in a post. And I was mad. I was like, I didn't want to know that. But I'm really happy I did. Because it really helped me now, zoom into this game and be like, how does this happen? Because I even wrote it down. It was, it was a 17-point game with 6 minutes to go, a 14-point game with 3 minutes to go, and a 9-point game with under a minute to go. And so as I keep watching this, I keep trying to think to myself, how are the Pacers going to come back in this moment? I don't even understand. And the one thing that was a bummer was that I knew, though, then that shot, that Halliburton shot, that crazy shot where it just practically, touched God and then came back down. I knew that had to have been a 2 because I knew it went into overtime. So like that was the one bummer about that kind of being spoiled. But then I'm just kind of like, I'm watching this and I'm just like, man, like if the Pacers pull this off in overtime, because we've seen a lot of times where things like that happen only to then have it just not fall their way in OT. And it felt like, okay, the Knicks are going to be able to kind of, reconnect, hit the reset button going into overtime, and they'll be able to come away with the win. And they obviously weren't. And it was just like everything that I kind of talked about and praised about the New York Knicks, you'd have to say about the Indiana Pacers. I mean, they were just so focused in the moments that mattered most, and they were so relentless on defense, and they were forcing those turnovers. They were forcing the mistakes on defense and offense of the Knicks, and the Knicks weren't able to repay the favor. And then they were making their own mistakes. Like they were not ready for that moment when throughout the playoffs, the New York Knicks have been the team ready for those moments. I always, I refer to it as like organized chaos. Like the final couple minutes of a game, it becomes chaos. Like everything starts to happen so fast, so quick, and there's a lot going on. And it's why it's so important to have players on the court who truly understand what needs to be done, who truly understand what you need to do, or whether you're on defense, whether you're on offense, whether you have the ball, whether you don't have the ball. And the Pacers just knew. The Pacers, even they ran the one play to out of the timeout for the inbound play. Like they actually had a setup that I had never really seen before, where they had like I think it was all 4 of the Pacers on the other side of the court, and the way how they kind of went and executed it. It didn't do exactly what they wanted it to do, but they were all just ready. Like it wasn't kind of like this frantic kind of like, oh God, we got to score, we got to try. Like it was still just, it was organized. It was organized chaos. And the Knicks just didn't have that. And the Knicks, even at times, like it wasn't even some of their mistakes that they made or the missed free throws. Listen, you're a 90% free throw shooter. You're an 84% free throw shooter. You're not 100%. You're going to miss some shot. Like it's just, you can't be 100%. You got to miss a free throw. And it's just unfortunate, for them when it happens in that moment. And obviously, right, then you're going 6 for 6 for 3. If you're doing something that Steph Curry didn't even do, right, the greatest shooter ever, like, then that's pretty remarkable. And you can't bank on that in the future either. So that's why it's like a weird situation, because I thought of this game, I'm like, well, who do you feel was the better team? And the reality is like, I think they're both still even. I really do. Like, I'm like, if you're the Knicks, you're devastated that this happened, but like, you don't leave that game thinking, oh my God, we're just outmatched. And if you're the Pacers, you don't, like, you're excited, and so, you're going to pound your chest, but you don't do it for too long, because you're like, man, we could have lost that game. In fact, you can make the argument we should have lost that game, and it's amazing we didn't. We pulled it off. We got our dogs. We got players who stepped up big, but also kind of like, we can't rely on this either. So it's like, it was just a fascinating game. I watch these games through the lens of like, what is my take? What is my takeaway? What is my conclusion? What did I just witness? What did I just watch? And I was saying this to someone else actually just this morning. I was like, I'm watching this game, and I was like, it's so crazy. It's like I'm watching history, right? Like you're watching a game. Like growing up, I knew all about the Indiana Pacers, the New York Knicks, and Reggie Miller and all of that, and like I didn't live through it, right? I wasn't, I was not, really around for that, but like I still grew up knowing it, right? I still, you just know it without even really seeing it. You just know it. And it was like obviously so iconic. It's why they showed it a million times, and it's why Halliburton, did this. I don't even think Halliburton was even alive when that happened. And so it's just such a crazy moment that I'm watching this, and I'm like, I'm watching that moment now. Like I'm watching the new version of that, and it just doesn't even feel like it. And it's just crazy. It really, really is. It's just, it was crazy. I think both fan bases should actually, ironically, feel pretty good. Again, I understand the Knicks are going to be, upset, and you never want to drop a game that you should have won in the playoffs, because that could be enough now to send you home. But I also encourage the Pacers and Pacers fans to not be too much like, that's right, the series is over, because I don't think it is. I really think normally I have a good feeling of how I think game 2 will go. And I think it could be again an absolute toss up. My gut tells me that the New York Knicks are going to come out on fire, and they're gonna just be playing like their hair is on fire. They're not going to want to go down 0-2 at home. Like, I think you might get a huge punch from the New York Knicks, and that's where I'm fascinated to see how do the Pacers handle that. Do they weather that? Because I couldn't even blame the Pacers if they lose by 15 points or 20 points, on the road game 2 after stealing a devastating game 1. Like, I wouldn't even be like, oh, the Pacers got lucky. What are you going to do? I'd be like, no, that makes sense. Like, this is how basketball works oftentimes. And so if they don't do that and they keep it still within range or even win, I mean, you got to feel great about the Pacers. You got to feel great about them. So, yeah, man, this series, it's box office. It's all you can ask for. Honestly, it's all you can ask for. And you could even see, while they're in, Indianapolis, like, you could see them, like, they're kind of struggling with their words because you're just trying to put it in context and try to, express what you just witnessed. And it's not always easy to do. And that's how it's special, when you really are kind of at a loss for words, where you're just like, that was, but like, because again, I still see it. 17.6 minutes, 14.3 minutes, 9 points under a minute. It's just wild. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Indiana Pacers versus the Knicks? Do you think it was more about the Pacers win or the Knicks collapse? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.